California Democratic Congressman, Select Committee member, and House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff. Chairman Schiff, I appreciate you joining us. I want to get to today's testimony, but the former president late tonight just released a 12-page response to your committee accusing you, among other things, of hiding evidence, cherry-picking what testimony to release. He claims that, quote, MAGA witnesses had, quote, their very lives turned upside down. Do you want to even respond? Just to be clear, witnesses knew they were being recorded and knew their testimony might become public. Is that accurate?
Yes. And look, I only had a chance to skim the former president's latest lengthy diatribe. But what was most notable to me was it's more of the same big lie. He repeats a lot of the claims that were debunked long ago, and you played a nice montage of all the people talking about how how much BS that was. Well, the BS goes on, and it goes on at great length. This is the thing that we really want to get across, and that is that big lie about our election that began before the election, with the president laying the foundation and saying you couldn't trust the election if he lost it, and that votes counted after Election Day were going to be suspect, even though he knew that because of all the absentees, votes would have to be counted after Election Day. That big lie that ultimately led to a violent attack on our Capitol, he continues to push out to this day.
And there are people running on that big lie, running to be the person who'd be in charge of next elections in states. It became clear today that the then president was told over and over and over by the people close to him, his attorney general, his campaign manager, his own family, that he lost the election. How key is that to your committee's investigation?
I think it's very important for the public to know that the president was told by his own people at the highest levels that there's no merit to this. There's no way that these allegations could be true. The president, you were saying, is claiming that these are cherry-picked statements. I don't know how you can cherry-pick when your own attorney general says you're full of BS, essentially. But it is important to show the country that this wasn't a president who was merely mistaken or just merely misled. This was willful on his part. He knew he lost. He was told that he lost. He was told that these claims that people were making were crazy. It didn't matter to him. And even when the Capitol was attacked, he sat and he watched it. He thought that, the vice president may have had it coming. And so this is who he is. And to those of us that watched him carefully over the last 5 years, it's not at all a surprise. But it is quite a dangerous thing.
The Select Committee's chairman, Benny Thompson, told reporters tonight the committee will not be making any criminal referral to the Department of Justice regarding the former president or anyone else in his orbit. Do you agree with that decision, even if the committee uncovers evidence of criminal wrongdoing?
I haven't seen the chairman's statements. We haven't had a discussion about that. So I don't know that the committee has reached a position on whether we make a referral or what the referrals might be. I thought we were deferring that decision until we concluded our investigation. At least that's my understanding.
On top of raising $250 million for an election integrity fund that didn't actually exist, your colleague, Congressman Zoe Lofgren, told our Jake Tapper that Kimberly Guilfoyle was paid $60,000 for her very brief speech at the Ellipse on January 6th. Does the former president control how all that money raised is spent?
I don't know who has their hands on that money and how it's allocated. The principal point that we wanted to get across during the hearing today was that the big lie was not only destructive to the country, it was also used to bilk the president's own supporters, to get money from them, and the claim that it was going to be used to defend their position on the election. And it wasn't for that purpose. There was no such fund. And instead, that fund can be used as a kind of slush fund. In terms of who controls it, what oversight, it's anybody's guess. And at this point, I'm not sure I could tell you.
You said on ABC over the weekend that you think there's credible evidence of criminal activity on the part of the former president. That sounds like you would want that referred to the Justice Department, even if Benny Thompson says that they don't have plans to do that.
Well, I think that any credible evidence that the president of the United States, the former president, was engaged in criminal activity, or anybody else for that matter, needs to be investigated. And it's not just me that thinks that there is credible evidence. Federal Judge David Carter, of course, has said that now multiple times on the basis of his view of a far more limited set of evidence than what the committee possesses. So my point is that, a president doesn't get a pass. And particularly if the Department of Justice takes the position, as it did while he was president, that you can't indict a sitting president, to then take the position as a practical or prudential matter that it would be too controversial or perceived as political to investigate criminal activity, potentially criminal activity of a former president, confers a kind of immunity on the president, which is a dangerous idea.
But we've obviously heard statements like this in the recent past about President Trump, that he did something criminal. We've seen the former president investigated before. You were obviously involved in some of those cases, and criminally, so far, nothing has been proven in a court of law.
Well, it's certainly true that he hasn't been charged with a crime. Now, there are multiple investigations going on, so that might change. My point is, though, that if there is credible evidence of criminal activity, and here I believe there is, it needs to be investigated. Ultimately, it's up to the Department of Justice whether they believe they have proof beyond a reasonable doubt, such that they feel comfortable moving forward with an indictment. But I don't think you can just not investigate. I think it has to be looked at. It has to be looked into, just as it would for any other U.S. citizen or non-citizen, for that matter. Nobody gets a pass. Nobody should get a pass if the rule of law applies equally to everyone.
Congressman Schiff, I appreciate your time. Thank you.